So good afternoon. Okay, so half of us are awake, half of us are asleep. I wonder how well you know the people around your table. So let's just try a little exercise. You just need one finger for this. Can you just free up one finger? Don't be picking your nose with it. So let's see how well you know the people around your table. When I say 1, 2, 3, go, I'd like you to point to the person on your table that you think drives the flashiest car. Are you ready? Wait for it. Wait for it. Don't go too early. 1, 2, 3, go. Okay, next one. Next one. I'm not judging at all. I drive a Seat Ibiza. I'm not a car person. My wife loves the cars. After 1, 2, 3, go. Point to the person on your table you think owns the most pairs of shoes. 1, 2, 3, go. It's quite easy there, isn't it? These poor men are really struggling at the front because they've got 4 pairs of shoes and a pair of flip-flops between them. So, okay, last one for the moment. Point to the person on your table you think had their first kiss at the earliest age. 1, 2, 3, go. You're busted. So I think there'll be some conversations in the coffee break, won't there? Absolutely. So I am honoured to share with you 2 sessions this afternoon. Peter's given me a little bit of airtime, and I'm going to introduce myself more formally in a moment, but we're looking at 2 things. The first is mental toughness. This idea of resilience, this idea of coping well under pressure. We know that the Daily Mail hates the NHS and GPs and everything else, and the government do little to assuage that. We know that you're under a lot of pressure. We know that in many respects the outlook is doom and gloom and there's a lot of negativity going about, but you are a massively motivated, driven, passionate and talented bunch of people. We succeed and do our jobs really well despite rather than because of the situations we find ourselves in. But I'm sure that you're all very coachable. You're not here principally because you've been told to be here. You're not here principally because you want to have a good time and get away from the office. You want to be better at 5 o'clock today than you were at 9 o'clock this morning. We want to raise our game. Mental toughness is a really good way to do that. Because if you think about athletes, you can get to 95% of your potential through good training, good nutrition, developing your skills, getting the right coaching, but that last 5% is often in the mind. The difference between winners and losers is often in the mind. The difference between the people that cope really well and do a great job is often not a question of skills and experience and expertise, but it is in the mind. So if we can understand this idea of mental toughness a little bit more, then maybe we'll be more equipped to get back to the coalface and raise our game a little bit, or at least cope with this tidal wave of change that's coming up. And in the second section, we're going to talk about trust. What is trust? How do we become more trustworthy? What does a trustworthy organization or a trustworthy practice look like? Because is it fair to say that relationships are important in what we do? Is reputation important? Yeah, we've got to get people to do things. We need people to say yes. We need to drive initiatives and change. We need to bring people on board. We need to be influential. So being more trustworthy is a valuable thing to aspire to. So we're going to look at those 2 things. And in the meantime, we will have a little bit of fun. Is that okay if we have some fun? Okay, so for 4 people, that's a good idea. Rest of us. By the way, you 2 ladies at the back sitting down just now, you're late. But you've not missed anything. We've all just been sharing our most embarrassing sexual experiences. There's just you 2 ladies left now. So you've got 90 minutes, if that's long enough. Smashing. So let's just check who've got in the room, because there's 3 kinds of people we get in the room. First, the people that are prisoners. So if you're here because you've been told to come, there's an arm up your back and you're here under duress, that might be you. I'm hoping not. Some people are here, as Peter was hinting at, for a bit of a holiday, because it's mad back there, and this is a real break for me. But as I was saying, some people are really coachable. Some people want to push on. They want to be better. They want to listen and learn. And they know that the way to make the job easier and the practice better is to make yourselves better. So you're taking responsibility. So just to check that you're in a learning mode, particularly after lunch, I'm going to test you. So for this test, you need to have your hands free and a place in front of you on the table where you can put them. So let's just find out if we've got rhythm. I'm going to clap out a rhythm, listen to me, and then you're going to copy it. Right, try and stay together. It's a really good idea. Let's try once more. Now we're talking. I like that. You are a team. That is impressive. Let's make it a bit trickier. There's a few people going. All right, so that's the first game, and I'm glad you're getting on board with that. I see the unity in the team. I see you all, you're firing off your cylinders, you're getting it together. So let's take it to another level now. Simple game, this one. Simple game. You're just going to practice it with somebody close to you in ones and twos. Well, certainly not ones. Twos works best. One of you is going to start by saying the number 1. Then the next person will say the number 2. And then you, she'll go again, you say the number 3. And after 3, that other person goes back to 1. So let's just play it with you as an audience so that you get it. If I say 1, you say 2. I say 3, you say 1. Very good. So let's try it quicker. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Very good. Okay, so you've got the game now. You've got the game. Just practice that with someone close to you, and then when we come back, we're going to make it a little bit harder. But I need to know if you can learn. Just practice that for a few moments. 1, 2, 3. Let's raise it up a level. Let's raise it up a level. Instead of the 2 now, instead of the 2, you're going to clap. So let's check. Let's check we can do this. 1, 3. It's going to be a long afternoon, Peter. You see, this is what happens in our practice. We give people a simple task, they can do it. We ratchet it at one small level and they fall apart. So, let's try it again. 1. Stop saying 2. 1, 3. 1, 3. Wait a minute, that's my clap there. You get... Is there some people you know that just want to take it all on? They just want to do it all. They just take over, don't they? Come on, we can do this. 1, 3. 1, 3. 1, 3. 1, 3. 1. Excellent. You are good. We did good there. Okay, let's go. This is as hard as it gets. Nothing else I'm going to do this afternoon is going to tax you as much as this one. So instead of 3, you're going to say your own name. Let's try it slowly. Let's try it slowly. Are we ready? 1. Rob. Clap. She said clap. That's her. Even if you were called clap, it's not your goal. Do you have to deal with this on a daily basis? Come on, you can do this. I believe in you. 1. Rob. 1. Super. Don't say my name. All right, I think we're just about established that we're on the edge, but we can learn something this afternoon, can't we? Okay, so welcome to my life. There's lots of Roberts in the world, lots of Robs. I wonder how many of these that you can name. Who's this? Very good. Good. Excellent. Who's this? Yeah. Superb. There's a lot of people getting on your quiz team, Peter, here. Ladies? I don't like hearing the fellas call that one out quickly, but the ladies I'd expect. Who's that top left? He's Robert Kiyosaki. Who's that one? Okay, this is a tricky one. Robert Smith from The Cure. Excellent. So, that's the one you've got today. Sorry about that. Besides, the others are a lot more famous. Some of them are actually dead, and some of them don't even exist. So that's the one you're left with today. That's where I live in Nottingham, home of Robin Hood. He's a few doors down from me. If you're internationally minded, that's my house. If you're an alien, I live about there. That's my wife, but only because this woman will not return my calls. That's my children, which basically means I'm a glorified cab driver. And the 5 things I love: playing a bit of music, playing a few games, playing with the children, chocolate. Any chocolate lovers? Yeah, sweet tooth, thank you. Solidarity. And I'm a black belt in kickboxing. And and the only reason I did that is because I've got 2 daughters, as you just saw. And when either of my daughters bring home a boyfriend, they'll say, "This is my dad, and by the way." So that's why I do that. And now 2 things I can't do. I cannot whistle. Okay, don't show off. There's no need to rub salt in the wound. And I can't ice skate. And I'm also allergic to grapefruit. Makes me nauseous. I don't know what's going on with that, but keep the grapefruits away from me. Now, my story is that in 2000, just think back to what you were doing in the year 2000. This is what I was doing. I worked in a factory. Now, it was smelly, it was disgusting, it was long hours, I was unappreciated, and, well, actually I'm lying, because I was a secondary school maths teacher. But it was actually a factory because I was producing lots of children that could pass tests. So I'm producing these graduates, if you like, graduates of high school. And whilst I loved my job, I looked at my boss's job one day and I thought, you know, apart from your salary, there is nothing about your job that I want. Anyone ever done that? No? Just me then? So I started to plan my exit out of teaching and ended up working for Bupa, selling private medical insurance. And I used to bang on about how the NHS waiting lists were poor, and I did everything I could to get a direct debit out of you, because I'd gone from this job where I'm earning £2,500 a month and I know exactly what I'm doing every Tuesday morning, Year 9 maths, to this job where I'm direct sales, commission only. So if I don't sell a private medical insurance policy or income protection or critical illness or something like that, my wife and I don't eat. Now, Bupa, great company, and part of the role was that I had to network. I had to go out there and build relationships. I had to create business opportunities, and I knew nothing about it, really. But I got my business cards, and I went out there to loads of events and started to get quite good at the networking thing. And pretty soon people said to me, "How are you building all these relationships? How are you doing this?" And I realized that God really wanted me not to be selling private medical insurance, but to teach people how to build relationships. And soon after, I wrote this book, How to Build Your Reputation, because I was interested in why some people get chosen and others don't. What is it about you that makes you special, whereas other people do what you do, but they don't come to mind? They don't stand out. So how do we build these trusted relationships? How do we build that reputation? How do we stand out? How do we get people to do what we want them to do? So I've been doing that for the last 10 years, and I talk to what I affectionately call the FLABs, financial, legal, accounting, and banking, because they're lousy at relationships. And I talk to a few people like us in a way that we're technically very good. We've got some great skills, but we perhaps are a little bit short on the relationship, the people side, particularly doctors. Lousy. Some of them have a great bedside manner, and you know those, but some of them, their emotional intelligence leaves a bit to be desired. But the good thing is it's all coachable. It's all coachable. So we're going to talk about mental toughness in this first session, and we want mental strength, otherwise we risk suffering burnout. So I'm going to share with you 8 signs, warning signs of burnout, and I'd just like you to just do a little mental note for yourself to see if any of these ring true for you. Number 1 is a lack of control. So if you feel that what you're doing is being undermined or is being limited in some way, or you don't have a sense of what's going on, can I just ask you to just put a number out of 10 based on how in control you feel in your situation? So 10 would be, I'm really in control, everything I do matters, everything I do counts. And a 1 would be, I've got no control. People are undermining what I'm doing, what I do doesn't get listened to or obeyed, I don't feel I've got the control I need to do my job. Just give you a score out of 10. Next sign of burnout is a values conflict. So here there's a disconnect between your core values and the values of the practice, the work, the organization. There's some disconnect there. It's not congruent. But it could be something bigger. It could be a culture thing. You want to take the culture one way and the practice is going another way. So if your values are synergistic, if they are the same as the values of the practice, the environment that you're working in, that's a great 10. If you feel there's a little bit of a gap, that might be a lower score. But when there's a big values disconnect, that's a sign of burnout because you're on totally the wrong ship. Next one is insufficient reward. So you feel taken for granted. You feel unrecognized. You feel like you're not compensated enough. It could be financial, but it could be in other ways as well. You're just not getting that recognition you deserve. You're not getting compensated and acknowledged in the right way for what you do. So give yourself a mark out of 10 for that one. 10 is you're getting all the accolades you deserve, and a 1 is you're doing a fantastic job and nobody seems to see it. Next sign of burnout is clearly work overload. So this one, and you probably appreciate that the definition of stress is where your perceived demands on you are not met by your perceived resources. What you've got to deal with stuff is not enough to deal with what's coming at you. So work overload is when work's too much or too complex or too urgent. Everything seems to be urgent. So give yourself a mark out of 10 for how overloaded you feel with your workload. 10 being obviously, I'm totally on top of everything, and a 1 is I really can't cope. It's coming at me way too fast. Fifth sign of burnout is unfair treatment. What I mean by this is that you're treated unfairly. There's some favoritism. Some people get the best assignments and projects and promotions. It's not done fairly. You feel you're overlooked with things. You feel there's some favoritism going on. So if that exists in your culture and in your situation, that would be a low mark. And if there's none of that going on, that's an absolute 10. Sixth one out of 8, isolation. This is where there's a breakdown of you to your friends, a breakdown in connection, a breakdown in community. You're working with patronising colleagues. There's no mechanism for resolving conflicts. There's a few laughs there. So you feel increasingly on the fringe. Give yourself a mark out of 10 for that one. Obviously 10 is no isolation whatsoever. I feel right in the middle of the community. I feel right in the middle of it all. Things go through me. I have a say in things. And a 1 would obviously be, yeah, I feel on the edge. I don't feel that what I'm saying is being listened to. Nearly done now. Negativity. So we're talking about resentment, jealousy. You're feeling overly critical or cynical or frustrated or even resentful. If those feelings are welling up in you, or you're getting sucked into all the negativity that's going on, that would be a low mark. But if you feel you're on top of it and everything's positive and everything's optimistic, then that would be a higher mark, possibly a 10. So give yourself a score on that one. 1 left is exhaustion. So to what degree do you feel you've got the vitality and the energy to deal with what's going on? If you're feeling tired, if you feel I haven't got the energy to do the job, and let's be honest, you need high energy to do what you do. High mental energy as well as high physical energy, because the moment your foot hits the mat there as you walk in, it is full on till the moment you leave. 1 more actually, redundancy. And I don't mean actually redundancy as a sign of burnout, but by redundancy I mean that you're feeling ineffective and nothing that you do is good enough. So you feel you're redundant. You feel you're not really needed. That's what I mean by redundancy. It is a sign of burnout when you feel that if you didn't turn up one day, nothing much would change or you wouldn't be missed. So give yourself a score out of 10. 10 is I absolutely would be missed and my presence is critical. And 1 is I'm redundant, I'm not really needed there. So you've got 9 scores out of 10. Just do a little bit of maths for me. I'll be coming around with my red pen as a former maths teacher to check you're working. So I'm not going to ask you to share your answers. So it's not quite a percentage, but it's almost out of 100. Would it be fair to say if you've got an answer less than 50, there's a little bit of burnout going on, a little bit of pressure? Is that fair? I'm not going to ask you if you got more or less than 50, but if you did get less than 50, or maybe in the 50s or 60s, then we can help this afternoon. There is hope. Did you get a high score? Is that why you're laughing, or are you leaving tomorrow? There's hope for Janet, is there? You're all right, but she's struggling, is she? But there's hope for her. So, it's the hope. Do you feel the hope? You feel the hope? Okay, so, big question. We've talked about mental toughness. No one's slitting the wrist now, are they? We still feel like we're... Yeah? We're bent out, but you're having a nice day today. There's a lot of questions. What is mental toughness exactly is the big question right now, because we've talked about it. Can we define it? Yes, we can. Just have a look at this video with a little bit of sound, Simon, and take a look at some of these very tricky questions to answer in life. See if you've got any answers for them. If we laugh, we learn, don't we? It's good to get some questions out there. I'm sure you've got all the answers. This is the question that we're facing right now, and I've got some definitions for you so you can get some kind of idea in your head. So, the quality which determines how people deal with challenges, stresses and pressures, irrespective of the prevailing circumstances. You get some people that go up and down dependent on the external circumstances. They can be having a good day and a bad day. My daughter said to me, this is Georgia, she's just about to become 12. She said to me recently, Dad, I know when I'm having a bad day. And I said, why is that? She said, my eyebrows don't work. But when I'm having a good day, my eyebrows look great and they're so easy. Now, men can't relate to that, but I'm trying to get her to see that your mood shouldn't be a factor of the external circumstances. Here's another definition: the ability to consistently perform towards the upper range of your talent and skills regardless of competitive circumstances. So you've got a skill level in a certain thing, and being able to perform at the top of that, being able to realize all of your talent in a particular situation is often dependent on what's going on in here. I teach people to network a lot, which is, you know, that walking into a room, talking to people, introducing yourself, remembering names, making a good first impression. Now, that's quite a tricky thing for a lot of people, even a lot of what you might look at to be successful people. There was a recent survey in America that asked people like us, what are you the most fearful of in life? And death came third. And you think, what would come before death? Well, number one was speaking in public. And number two was walking into a room full of strangers. So what that actually means is that if you walked into a funeral to do the eulogy and didn't know anyone, you'd prefer to be in the coffin than doing anything else. So it's performing at that upper level. Let's put it another way. It's that disciplined, focused and determined state of mind that allows you to consistently perform at a high level in pressured situations. Are we in pressured situations day to day, yes or no? Yes. Absolutely. So our level, our standard might drop, but if we are mentally strong, it's more likely to stay at a high level. And when we get at a high level, we can do the things we want to do. We get more done every hour. We get more done every day. We bring more people with us. We stay strong. We stay positive. And that creates the atmosphere that allows us to drive through the initiatives, the targets, the goals that we need achieved. If we're not on top of our game, people see that. People see weakness. People see uncertainty. People see dithering. People see it when you're not sure. And that's not at the top of your game. Another one is having the natural or developed. That means you might be born with a certain amount of mental toughness, but it can be developed. It can be coached. Have we any fans of snooker in the room? Yeah? A couple of the fellas, one or two of the ladies. Any fans of Ronnie O'Sullivan in the room? Yeah, so you know who he is, and you may know that in the recent World Championships he had somebody called Dr. Steve Peters in his dressing room for the whole final. And Dr. Steve Peters is the man that's been credited with turning around British cycling. He's the mind guy. He talks a lot about your inner chimp, about those games that get played in your mind and how psychological it is at the very top level. Andy Murray's been using him. And Andy Murray's problem has traditionally been with tennis that he keeps hold of the last point. And he takes the last point into the next point. But he can't do anything about the last point. But he's thinking about what he did wrong and what he should have done right. The cyclists as well, you can see them going around the velodrome. There's such small margins of error between the winners and the losers, it's hundredths of a second. So it's coping better with those demands placed on you, pressure, expectation. And finally, being more consistent, more determined, more focused, confident, resilient than others when under pressure. If you want to get better, or if you just want to stay still at what you're doing, I can't promise you less pressure. I can't promise you less meddling from the government. I can't promise you less negative press from the Daily Mail. I can't promise you less initiatives and less targets. But I can promise you that if you can raise your game mentally to go with the undoubted skills and talents that you've got, you have got a 20–30% chance, more scope, more potential to improve your performance. Now that's something worth looking at. Let's talk a little bit about resilience. Mental toughness and resilience are not quite the same. I'm going to get you to discuss that just for a couple of minutes around your table. What do you think might be the difference between mental toughness and mental resilience? Two slightly different words. So I'm going to give you an opportunity to feedback. Just take a minute or two. Just have a little chat amongst yourselves. See what you think might be the difference. Looks like this table has the answer. Look, you're all intensely involved. You got it? Who's got a good stab at it for us? Looking keen back here. Are these ladies keeping you in check? Yeah, yeah. Difference between resilience and mental toughness. What do we reckon? Yes, Deborah. Okay, so she's not sure. Well, it's a tricky one because we use words like this. We use mental toughness and resilience and trust, and we don't quite know what they mean. If I asked 10 of you, what does reputation mean? I'd get 10 different answers. So it's useful to be clear on the distinction. So this is resilience. This is how the dictionary defines resilience. The ability to overcome a crisis quickly and to move past it. To know where, when, and how to use your energies to improve things for yourself and how to recruit help. So there's a lot of research around child resilience. How do children get through tough backgrounds? So resilience is in a very basic phrase, bounce back ability. It's the ability to bounce back from adversity, to go through something tough. Mental toughness is that ongoing coping with a high pressure situation. Whereas resilience describes how well you can bounce back from something bad happening. From something bad in your childhood, or an accident, or an illness, or a lack of confidence, or some trauma in your life. And the degree to which you can bounce back is described by mental resilience. Now, we need both. Because as well as the ongoing pressures that we face in our practices, in our situations, we get disasters, we get trauma, we get adversity, we get situations that turn up that can rock your confidence and affect you deeply. So we need a bit of both. Looks like my daughter having a bad eyebrow day, actually. But it's not. So, if I've not sold the idea of mental toughness to you already, let's go over 8 possible benefits of mental toughness. You will perform better. I don't know what your KPIs are exactly, your key performance indicators, but if you want to perform better, the answer probably doesn't lie in you getting better and more skilled and more knowledgeable. That's going to be a part of it. But the biggest gains for you to make in your performance are in here. Another advantage of mental toughness and resilience is you can cope with the negativity and the stress better. As I said to you earlier, there's not ever going to be less stress. A slower day is not coming. I promise you, if you're waiting to get those jobs done around the house or clean that garage out when things get a bit slower, it's not coming. It's only going to get faster and faster and faster. So being able to cope better with the negativity. There's always going to be negativity around. There's always going to be people that don't get what you do, that don't see your vision. Improve morale. Who'd love a little bit better morale in their practice? 3 people? Rest of you must be really rocking. Of course we want a bit better morale. Yeah, it's good. We can brag about that if it is, but if you can take it up 10%, what kind of a difference would that make? Is there anyone in the room that couldn't improve what they do by 5–10%? Of course we could. Everyone here can raise the game, and if you raise your game, you raise the game of the people around you. More innovation, better ideas. The theme of this is sustainable practice, growing your practice. Dominic spoke this morning about building better relationships and being proactive and looking forward to the future. If you get wrapped up in the day-to-day and the here and now, it's difficult to be strategic. It's difficult to come up with new ideas. It's difficult to be innovative because you're too busy coping and fighting fires and dealing with the urgent stuff. Bit of a blame culture going on in some organizations, not yours obviously because yours are all perfect, but when things go wrong, how much forgiveness is there around? And if you are mentally strong, not only are you able to cope with getting things wrong a lot better, and let's face it, if you don't try stuff and take a risk because you're scared of getting it wrong, where's the innovation in that? Where's the trying out new things? If you're scared to get it wrong, you don't try anything because you're playing it safe. But here's the soundbite here. It's now too risky to play it safe. The practices that thrive and grow and take on all these new ideas are the ones where you're allowed to try something, you're allowed to make suggestions, you're allowed to innovate. And if you're mentally strong in yourself, you'll be more confident about putting ideas forward and running with them. Better recruitment, retention of good people. One of the questions I ask people is, what's stopping you from growing? What's stopping your organization, your practice from growing? Time and time again they say to me, we can't get the right people. We can't recruit enough of the right people with the right skills, with the right temperament. If you are mentally strong, you create an environment that people want to be in because you provide strong leadership, good scope to improve, you train people, you invest in people, it's not just about you, loads of upsides. Reduced risk of claims awards tribunals. Stress is the biggest reason for tribunals these days, the biggest reason for awards and payouts. Stress. Your biggest weapon against stress is not doing less, but is it in being mentally stronger. Stress is not going to go away. Last one, that mental resilience. If you're mentally strong, you'll be more able to cope with the setback. You'll be more able to cope with adversity and things that go wrong. And things will go wrong. Sometimes you'll be the source of the things that go wrong. Sometimes it will be other people. But if you don't have the resilience and the mental toughness to cope, that's going to affect the culture of the practice. So I'm going to share with you 5 pillars of mental toughness, 5 elements. And then I'm going to share with you 3 things you can do quite simply to improve your mental toughness today. Let's just run through these a little bit. Commitment, motivation, confidence, control, and focus. All of the top athletes, all of the top performers, they've analysed what it is about them that makes them able to perform at a very high level despite all the pressure and the expectations. And these 5 things come up time and time again. So I'm going to give you a little quiz in them where you can mark yourself on how strong you feel you are. We're just going to look at 4 of them. We're going to leave focus for the moment. So, get a pen or a pencil. Give yourself a mark on this scale. So commitment describes how people move towards their goals. They're committed to the job. They're committed towards getting things done. Where other people are much more distracted and bored. They say that if you can look at your watch for 60 seconds without thinking of anything else, in those 60 seconds you can rule the world. Because we can't do it. It's really hard. I'm a committed Christian, and I don't mind saying to you, prayer is really difficult. Because I try and focus on one thing and 80 other things come into my head. And I feel myself falling asleep some nights, and I'm thinking of one thing, I'm singing a song, and trying to focus on getting to sleep, and it's all these distractions. So give yourself a score out of 10 on how committed you are towards the goal and how easily distracted you are or not. Do you stay focused? Are you motivated by measures and goals? You like the clear goals, that's 10 down there. If you don't like the goals, if you're easily distracted, if you give up too quickly, you're down that end. This is just for you. Next one, next pillar of mental toughness is motivation. So some people love the job, love the pressures, love the variety, love the challenges. Others are quite fearful and cautious of the change. So down here is where you avoid it, you fear the failure, you avoid the effort, you don't like trying because you might fail. Here is you don't mind failing, you like the challenge, you actually create the change. And you're up for working harder and smarter, you relish that challenge. So how motivated are you? What level of desire have you got? Give yourself a little score there on the 1 to 10 scale. Next one is confidence. This is your self-belief. This is your ability to stick at it because you know you're good and you know you're doing the right thing. Self-belief is essentially you waking up, looking in the mirror, saying, this is me, this is what I do, I'm flipping good at it, and I'm worth every penny they pay me and a lot more. Because if you come to work and you don't believe that, and they've somehow got to you and your self-confidence is down, people can read that. People see that uncertainty. They see that fear in you. They see that, why should I believe in you when you don't believe in yourself? Why should I buy you and everything that you stand for and your visions and your goals and your targets and everything when I see that you're not even buying into them? So give yourself a score for self-confidence. And remember, confidence comes from the Latin, confidence, with faith. This measures the degree of faith you've got in yourself. Top athletes, top performers believe in themselves. They believe they've done enough to get the job done. They've done enough training. They've prepared themselves well enough. So 10 is up here. Setbacks makes you more determined. You make the most of your abilities. You want to get things right. You keep going. You believe. And the low scores represent a lack of faith. A lack of self-belief. Final one. Control. It's very difficult to stay on top of things if you feel you're losing control of a situation, that decisions have been made without your say-so. So if you feel you've got influence, your scores will be higher. You can handle lots of things coming at once. You feel you've got the control of it. Give yourself a score out of 10 here. Obviously low is you're not managing your time well, you don't feel in control, you feel things are, you feel you're running on other people's agendas rather than yours. And I'll give you a little tip on this time management thing. One of the biggest mistakes you can make when you come to work in the morning is to open your inbox. And you know it because you're smiling, but I'll tell you why it is. Because everything in that inbox is everyone else's agenda. They're sending that to you for you to get done. You've got enough things to get done on your own agenda. So as soon as you open that, you spend the first hour or two of your day looking after everyone else. There's no wonder when you put your head up at 10, 11 o'clock for a coffee break, you feel you've not done anything because you've been doing everyone else's stuff. So what would it take for you to have an email fast, just maybe once or twice or 3 times a week where you don't look at your email till 11 or 12 o'clock? I know that scares you. I know that's impossible. Even if you did it 1 day a week. How many of you have jobs that involve making outbound calls? You've got to call people. You've got to call people in the area. You've got to make. Is that involve some of you? Do you ever get a situation where you're calling people and they're not around? You know, they're not there. Here's what happens in the whole of the world. 99% of people go to work in the morning, 8 o'clock, 8:30, and the first thing they do is attack their inbox. That's what everyone does. At 9:30, 10 o'clock, they're done with the inbox and then they go into meetings. And then they start making their phone calls. And because everyone does that, by the time you're done with your inbox and you start making those calls, everyone else is already now in those meetings and on the phone. So if you made the phone calls earlier, a little phrase 10 before 10 or 9 before 9 might help you. That means make 9 phone calls before 9 o'clock or 10 phone calls before 10 o'clock. I promise you, you've got a much better chance of reaching people and getting those jobs done. Because they're just sat doing their emails. They'll go into the meetings at 10 when you're trying to reach them. So at 10 o'clock, go to your inbox. See if that makes a difference for you. It's just the way the world works. It's not right, but everyone's in that zone. Everyone does that routine. Boss your time a little bit better and try 10 before 10. If you have 10 phone calls to make, the best time to make them is before 9 or 10 o'clock. That's when you'll probably get people. So you've probably seen this before, but it's worth thinking about in terms of mental toughness when we talk about control. Oops. So we call this the locus of control. And in the middle there is the things that you can't control. You have no control over those things. You've just got to let them happen. Outside that are things that you can influence and change, but you can't control. So you can have an effect on. And then past that are things that you can control. You can do something about the stuff on the inside, but the inside, you can't control what the government thinks about the NHS. You can't control the weather. It's happening around you all the time. But people get upset about that. People worry about that. And why worry about the stuff that you can't control? So anything on the inside there, don't worry about. we're trying to move things outwards. We can take responsibility for things, but the more we have influence over, people say, Rob, you're a bit of a control freak. And yeah, I am. I take responsibility for everything, and I try and control as much as I can so that I'm in charge of it. But I don't get worried about the things that I can't control. Now, here's a little bit of a gift for you. This is a book that I've written called The Mental Toughness Pocket Guide, and I'd love to give it to you. I can't give it to you in hard copy form. It's got 101 tips in to build your mental toughness. I don't want to bombard you with information today. I'm going to share with you before I finish 3 easy things you can do to be a bit more mentally strong. But this has got things in like why you need mental toughness and the components. I go into more detail, and benefits and examples of mental toughness and ways to handle pressure and how to be more confident and tips to develop your mental toughness. So there's lots of good stuff in there. And if you want it, if it would benefit you and a few other people in your practice, then I'm happy to send you a copy. So, Peter, what is the best way to do that? To send them a PDF copy?
Send a PDF, send it to us.
Okay, let's do that. So, it's, what is it? It's 50-odd pages, 52 pages. I call it a business book in 40 minutes. It took me about 3 or 4 months to write. I got all the stuff I could on mental strength, mental resilience, mental toughness, and I put it into an easy-to-read guide. So you can get it, print it out, get a few tips from it, and it will help you embed some of the stuff. We're only doing a high-level view here today, but do you think that might help a few of you? Yeah? So 7 people, that's looking quite good. I'm really glad I wrote that. That's for you, Peter. Sure. But I just thought it would be great to learn a little bit more about Peter and his take on this situation we found ourselves in. Yes, you got the State of the Union address this morning. You got the things that Peter had to say. You got the corporate message. But in true Michael Parkinson style, I'm just going to bring him up and ask him a few questions, just so that we can find a little bit more about him and what's going on in the future. Peter, would you come and give him a clap, make him feel confident? You've got a few fans there.
At the moment.
Got a few fans at the moment. So, first question. Peter, tell us what you do when you're not working.
I'm always working. What do I do when I'm not working? I do things like gardening.
Right.
I like my photography. Cameras over there.
We saw that, yeah.
Around my neck, and I spend a lot of time with my partner Sue, and try and track my children down when they're around.
Okay, so you're human. What's your best quality?
Well, you mentioned you're going to ask that question, and I think they probably know the answer better than I do.
Is it modesty?
I wouldn't call that a good quality particularly, but I think on reflection is empathy.
Empathy.
I feel how these guys feel sometimes, and I get some pretty sad stories at work.
You won't know this, but I don't just rock up to an event like this and stand on stage and do something. There's a lot of negotiation and a lot of fact-finding goes on with something like this, so I can get a feel for your world. And he does feel your pain. Not that he's crying down the phone for you, but he gets it. He really gets it, and it frustrates him just as much as it frustrates you that we can't always do the things that we want to do, and we succeed despite rather than because of all the things going on. Okay, question 3. What would you do if your children told you they really wanted to be an LMC practice manager?
Well,
Would you take them into the family business?
The answer to that is, my job as it is extremely stimulating. It's no doubt at all, it's the best job I've had in 20 odd years. And I genuinely mean that. And I think that they could get a lot of stimulus out of that. If you're talking about a practice manager, then they would need some strength and skills which I wouldn't recognise in them at the moment.
Okay. What strengths and skills are you referring to exactly?
Well, mental toughness and resilience. The pair of them are musicians, so
they'd have no chance, would they, in a tough battle environment like?
Yeah, that's right. Pressures of being performers is one thing, but I think this is a different job.
What keeps you coming into work every day?
Well, as I said, I genuinely like the job. I genuinely like the people I work with. I genuinely like the people that I work for. These guys don't actually pay my salaries. Their bosses pay my salary. But I feel I empathise with them, and I really want to make their deal better.
Mm-hmm. So you look out there and you see a lot of dedicated, talented people. When you look particularly at the people that are coping really well with what's going on, what are the signs? What are the attributes, the qualities of those people that you see?
There's something about their practices that run on the surface extremely smoothly. And you know, you just have that feeling that they're the swans.
Right.
They're absolutely kicking underneath and they go against the current. But somehow or other it comes over as being a confident practice that is delivering what we really feel is a good service. And there's very few moans and complaints or issues that can't be resolved.
So that doesn't mean there aren't moans and complaints, they just get dealt with better?
They get dealt with better, they get dealt with quickly, and they're dealt with in a confident way, saying, we've learned from this. It's not, it's not defensive, we're learning from it, a genuine feeling.
So the practices that are not working as well, what kind of things do they struggle with?
I mean, you mentioned a couple of them. They struggle with finding clinical people to work for them.
Recruiting the right people.
Recruiting the right people. They seem to have no vision of where they're going. They seem to want to bury their heads and don't want to listen. They may, the good practices may not agree with what's happening, but they're actually willing to listen and to take it on board and understand that they need to change. The bad practices are the ones that really are beginning to get left behind. They're getting left behind clinically, they're getting left behind managerially, they're getting left behind in terms of where we're going in the future with this. And they won't even talk about it, they just don't talk about it.
So what's that? It's denial?
I suppose that's a good question. It's that they don't want to change. They are trying desperately to stay in their comfort zone, which is not to change. And that means they're getting left behind. So yeah, denial is good.
It's an excellent point. Sometimes being at a place like this will keep you standing still. Just taking a bit of personal and professional development in like this just keeps you going. It keeps you in the same place. It doesn't necessarily get you ahead. I mean, this will, because this is packed full of great stuff to help you, but a little bit, it's just like a little bit of exercise keeps you at the same level of fitness. They say if you exercise twice a week, you'll maintain that level of fitness. If you can get 3 sessions in a week, you start to make some gains. If you get 1 session or less in a week, you start to fall behind. I learnt recently that I'm 49 years old in October. The average man between the age of 30 and 40 puts on £1 a year for every year of their age. And £1.50 a year for every year of their age between 40 and 50. So between 30 and 50, you've then got 10 plus 50, and that's £25. That's almost 2 stone. Between 30 and 50, just by doing the same things. I don't know what it is for women, but for men, you do the same thing and it starts to come around here, around your waist. Now, that is reversible, but you've got to be smart on it. You've got to keep pushing it and doing a little bit more. Otherwise, you just stay the same or you regress very slowly, and it's almost insidious. It creeps up on you. You wake up one morning and you can't see your feet, and it's frightening. So, moving on. I'm going to make you Prime Minister for a day. What's your first job?
It's got to be something health related, hasn't it?
Well, you would think so.
I'm not biased in any shape or form.
You're not going to change the gun laws on us right now.
No, I don't think so. It's got to be something to do with health. And Rob, I genuinely feel that general practice hasn't only been the cornerstone of the NHS. And I'm not saying that because of this audience. I feel it, that it hasn't only been the cornerstone of the NHS, it is the cornerstone of the NHS. The NHS will not survive without good general practice. It needs to move forward, it needs to move. I keep saying standing still is not an option. We've got to improve. But we're still there as the cornerstone, and the answers to the NHS are general practice. So I would want to invest very heavily in general practice. And I don't necessarily mean, you know, getting GPs a bit more in their pockets. I mean genuinely resourcing more staffing, resourcing more nursing, resourcing better management, right across the board, and then heading towards, I think, probably better integration. But it would have to be my number one.
What are you most proud of these people in the audience?
Well, I mean...
Are you hesitating because there's so many things there? Is that not because you can't think of anything?
What I was going to say is that they're actually here in this room today. They actually have taken some time out to actually come and see if there are things they can do better. And I'm proud of the fact that they do genuinely run very good practices in Hertfordshire and Bedfordshire. We have a minuscule number of, let's, for want of a better term, use the word bad practices. It's a minuscule number. From where I came in London, it's just no comparison at all. And they need to be proud of the service they run. And I gave them some statistics this morning, and they were genuine statistics of how good practice is generally. And that is a real reflection of what happens in Bedfordshire and Hertfordshire.
Yeah.
And it's these guys that keep the show on the road. Their bosses see the patients, but these guys keep the show on the road.
Yeah. And there was 100 reasons why you might not have come today. Because while you're here, you're not running your practice, you're not sorting out your inbox, you're not dealing with problems. So there's a sacrifice, and we appreciate that you've made the effort to get here today and get around your kith and kin, as it were, get around your community. And that's really very precious. What thing do you wish you'd known when you started this job?
I suppose it would be really nice to know how government is thinking. It would be nice to be, you know, to me, I can't understand.
One step ahead, you want to.
Yeah. I just can't quite understand the thinking. I can't understand how any organisation can, in inverted commas, employ a team of people and treat them so badly.
Yeah.
Because they do treat them badly, and the messages they give out are negative all the time. They have no need to do that. They could put the same statistics on the table that I put on the board this morning, but they don't. They prefer to criticise because they think it's going to make a difference. And it just demoralises. It's the wrong way around.
It sounds similar to the teaching profession that I came out of. And you'll appreciate that if you've got children particularly that you're going through, that we are the most tested nation on earth.
Yeah.
And when I said to you I was teaching kids to pass tests, I remember in a lesson once, and I'm teaching the children Pythagoras. Do you remember the right-angled triangles? And I said to the children, draw your diagram and put on there adjacent, opposite, and hypotenuse, because if you don't put that down, you lose a mark. I'm thinking, what have I just said? I'm not educating these people. So it changes the whole initiatives in education and do it this way. And then, you know, we're back to doing it how we did it when we went to school, and then we'll change it again in another 10 years, and there'll be the baccalaureate, and the A-levels will go, and they'll come back, and they brought back the O-levels now, and it's relentless. But we just keep getting through it somehow. What are your long-term plans? Tell us about the vision. You're what, late 30s now? You're going to be around for a bit longer?
Another 50 years. My personal long-term plans, my plans...
Well, share both with us.
Well, I still think, I genuinely believe general practice is sustainable in the long term. I am determined that Virgin Health is not going to get hold of general practice or Healthcare UK or whoever it might be. These guys have run an efficient service, and I'm determined in my job to do my absolute best to make sure that they move with the times, that they show they can continue to do it and continue to be successful and sustainable for the long term. And that's my job to run. That's my vision for the LMC. We're here ultimately to be irreplaceable. They must need us. That's my organisation, my small team's vision. But the reason for that is because I want general practice to be long-term sustainable. My own personal goals, I'd like a long, happy retirement in due course. And I don't know how many years away it is, but I've got a great family around me, and I want they stay like that.
And let's imagine it's the end of the day and you're sending your troops into battle. What words of motivation would you give them? Because when they get back tomorrow, it's all going to be kicking off. They've left the practice for a day, but you know as well as I do, it'll be falling apart by the time you get back. So you're going to be hit with this tidal wave.
Well, I mean, the message is continue to focus on that patient care, because if you can keep that focus, this is all about quality of patient care. A load of crap comes in from left and right, in front of you, but actually the long term is you're doing it for your patients, and I know you're doing it for your patients, and you want the best for your patients. So go back tomorrow and feel you've learned something today to help you achieve that goal of really good, high quality patient service.
I heard a lovely anecdote. You know, in the Reader's Digest, they have that little bit at the bottom of the stories sometimes. It's an old magazine now. Is it still going? And I read once about this primary school head teacher. And a little kid came into his office one day and he said, "So, what do you do all day?" And he said, "I sit in my office and I care." That was his answer. And above all else, you're not in this for the money, because there isn't much. You're not in it for the adulation and the recognition, because there isn't much, but you're in this because you care. You get people. You are amongst the most empathetic people around. You are the engine room of the whole NHS. It starts here. You're the front line in many ways, and you care so much. That's why you're here today, because you care. Please give a round of applause to Mr. Peter Graves, Dr. Peter Graves. Thanks, Peter. Doctor, he's been there, he's got the qualification. I'm going to take a break in a minute, folks. I'm just going to get a couple more people up that are your folk, your people. I'm going to invite Colin Neal to come up. Where's Colin? We'll give Colin a round of applause. We're just going to get him in the hot seat for a moment. Colin's been primed and ready since about 1 o'clock. Put him in the hot seat. But I asked Pete if it would be okay just to get a couple of people in your world just to talk about how they're coping with things at the moment. So just going to take a few minutes with Colin. Colin, tell us about your role and where you work.
I work at Parkwood Surgery in Hemel Hempstead. It's a 17,300 patient practice. We're PMS practice. We've got 7 partners and 5 associate GPs and 5 nurses. That's what we should have. What we actually have is about 6 partners, because one's off long-term sick, 2 nurses are off sick at the moment, and 3 salary partners, salary GPs are off on maternity leave. So apart from that, it's all going quite smoothly.
Yeah. There's a note of empathy in the room there. So why do you do what you do?
I was in banking for about 20 years.
Sorry about that.
And I didn't enjoy the amount of top-down that was coming to me, and I spoke to a practice manager, and because I used to look after a few practices as a manager, and I said, "What's it like, what you're doing?" He said, "It's great." I said, "How many sort of targets and things you got?" He said, "We've got 1 target, and that's our flu target. That's all we've got." So that was in 2004. So I applied, got the job, and that's when QOF came in. And since then there's more and more targets than ever.
It seems like you love what you do because you've got a smile on your face. Why do you love what you do?
I like what I do because I like the people I work with. The partners, I know there's some partners that aren't as helpful to practice managers as they could be.
No, really?
But ours are very good. They want to offer a good service to patients. So that's their driver. They're happy doing that. They're happy leaving me to run the practice. And they don't get overly controlling of how the practice is run.
So what are some of the things you do to cope with the pressures?
I think, I wouldn't say I was the best manager or whatever, but because I think the way I cope with the pressures is, one, I rely quite heavily on a couple of managers I've got working for me who are very, very good, and know that, like today, while I'm away, I know that they will cope with whatever is thrown at them. I think that I work in Decorum, and I think they've got a very good practice management organisation, and the amount of support that we get from each other is really good, because without that we'd really struggle, because trying to cope with the amount of information, the amount of services and things that are coming out, you can't do it all yourself, and therefore a lot of that will get spread around, and somebody will say, look, I'll look at this for you, and we'll do that, and then we'll let you know what we've worked out. So without the management sort of the other practices, it'd be really hard.
So look me in the eye and tell me that when things get tough, you don't work longer hours.
I work longer hours.
Do you see an end to that? What's the way out of that trap?
I'm trying to move some of the work around the office to try and free up a bit more time for me, because I don't feel that I'm thinking about the strategy of the practice as I was 3-4 years ago. I find now that I'm probably spending more time doing things rather than thinking about things. So what I've done is I've taken a view that certain things, like always changing the light bulbs, doing this DIY, putting these shelves up, doing all of this, they're the sorts of things that just have to go now, and rather than me doing them, it's employing somebody to do it. So it's taking some of those jobs that I don't have to do, but I used to quite enjoy doing them, but now I don't have the time to do it, it's getting somebody else to do that. I'm lucky that in the size of practice I've got is that there's a number of other sort of managers that work with me, and I've managed to get rid of some of the jobs that I was doing and pass it on to them and relieve them of some of their work by passing it on to other receptionists and things like that. I think it's also letting go of some of the things that I liked doing and thought that only I could do, but realising that actually somebody else can do it better than I can.
That's an excellent point. And I play 4 musical instruments, and just because I can play them doesn't mean I should be playing them in my church worship band, for instance. I leave that to the youngsters and the hip and trendy ones. Just because I've got a degree in education doesn't mean I should be doing the youth work at church or leading a kids' football team or something like that. Just because you're good at something, that can often be your worst enemy. They say that the good is the enemy of the best. If you're good at a lot of things, you get so wrapped up and your tentacles in them that you don't work on the best stuff that only you can do. And that's difficult, and it sometimes means letting go of stuff that you're good at and actually that you love doing, because it's not actually best for you. There are other things that you really should be working on. So thanks, Colin. Give us one parting shot, one word of advice or wisdom from all that you've learned about running a practice and being in a bank and everything that would motivate these people to cope better with the pressures that they're facing.
I don't know, I'd say probably is to actually rely on the other people, your staff, because you probably employ really good staff and you probably don't pass enough down to them that they could do and probably would like to do, and they probably would like the challenge.
Colin Neal. Thank you, Colin. Get your fingers ready, point to the person on your table that you feel is the quickest to break open a bottle of wine when they come home from work. 1, 2, 3, go. After 3, point to the person on your table that you are absolutely 100% certain has a secret stash of chocolate in one of their desk drawers. 1, 2, 3, go. Okay, I'm going to bring one more person up just before we take a little break. Please give a round of applause for Sarah Brindley. Come on, Trouble.
Oh, thank you.
Have a seat.
I'm just wanting to know how he knows I'm Trouble.
We've just got 7 hours, okay?
Okay.
And tell everyone a bit about you and your job.
I'm Sarah Brindley, practice manager at the Elms Medical Practice in Harpenden, Hertfordshire. There's about 14,000 patients. We have 8 GP partners, 2 pretty much full-time locums, 4 nurses, and about 25 members of staff, including receptionists who sort of bank, etc.
What do you love about your job?
I probably love the people more than anything, actual people I work with. That's the bit that gets you through any pressure, and that's what Colin was saying. I mean, it's who I rely on. I love the other practice managers in the area, and I'm not just saying that because I'm sat on that table with them, but you always get a good feeling whenever you go to any of these do's that we're all very much alike, and that's the positive thing, and that's the positive side of the job, I think.
My world is in speaking. So I'm a member of the Professional Speaking Association, and there's a lot of ego in speaking. You can imagine when you get up in front of an audience, there's that adrenaline rush and that adulation, if you like. And there's an unspoken rule in my world that if you want to know how much a speaker earns, ask them, take what they say, half it, and then take half of what's left. And the reason for that is because there's so many egos, success for us looks like a full calendar. Because we need bookings and engagements and conferences and everything else. And if you ask a speaker, how's it going, how well are you doing, very few speakers will tell you the truth. If their diary is absolutely empty and they're 2 weeks away from burning down the house and claiming the insurance money, they won't tell you. Because it's a sign of weakness. So I tell that to preface this question. When you talk to your colleagues and you say, how's it going, do they give you an honest answer?
Oh, God, yeah. Oh, we're very honest.
Because it wouldn't serve you to not be honest, right?
Oh, absolutely.
So there's no egos in the room, and if you're struggling, it's okay to say.
Yes, I think so. That's how it always feels whenever we're all, we're together. Certainly our group, we're very open, very honest, and I'm sure that goes across the patch. You only have to talk to anybody in here and they'll say the same.
What are some of the common struggles that you're going through?
Well, I mean, it is firefighting with practice managers, and as Colin was saying, you'd love to get, to be doing the strategic side of things, but you're every day are bombarded with emails at 7:30 in the morning, and I start a bit earlier, so I can, that 9-10 thing, I can start. Anyway. 7 calls before 7 then. But yes, it's everything from IT issues. Sadly, I don't have an IT person, so it's me that comes in. I'm the one that changes the bloody printers or the labels or, the server's down. I go and do that. So that could be the start of my day. Telephone systems. Then you're putting up a shelf. You're changing a light bulb. I'd love to do what Colin's doing, is pass, and we do try to delegate as much as possible, but obviously you're still limited. There's only so many people at practice. They're under pressure because obviously the amount of work we're getting from CCGs, QOF, it's just coming from every angle. And I just find that, yes, it's just a challenge from day to day. You can't quite plan, even though I try to. You try and plan your week even, but it never goes to plan because that isn't how our life is.
So what are some of the things you're doing that's working at the moment?
We don't have other managers, but we have team leaders. We set that up about a year ago. So each area, each department, as it were, within the practice, so whether it's summarising, data entry, reception, nursing, prescribing, we made team leaders. And we found then that we have meetings with those team leaders, so the communication started improving. But it wasn't that bad in the first place. We've tried to always, it's only, you've got 25 staff, I mean, how hard can it be to talk to people? But we find that people are more motivated. We've got the ones that are really keen, made them team leaders, got them really motivated, and they've managed to then inspire their teams, and that takes a little bit of pressure off me, because I know that they're doing their bit, and they're keeping on top of their bit, so I don't have to look at the small bits and pieces about prescribing and thinking, well, how are you doing that, and is that protocol working? They come to me, team leaders, this isn't working, how, and they give me a solution as well, which is what you want. So that has worked really well within practice.
What words of wisdom would you give to these lovely people here to cope better with the pressures that are placed on them?
Probably do it far better than I do. I don't know. I mean, the strength of. I think we already have the strength of character. You wouldn't be in the job you're in already. I think it's just believing a bit more, about believing in yourself more. And it'll just get you through. You know, your practice, you're in this position because of what you are and who you are and how you cope with things. Just believe in your teams, and I always try and be there, and I have an open door policy. I feel that if you can just communicate with everybody, things flow better. And if any of you want to try something different and really give yourself confidence, join an amateur dramatic group or come and see me next week in the 39 Steps in Hampstead Dramatic Society.
Is there a book you want to plug as well?
I can plug yours. No, sorry, I shouldn't do that. It's a bit of advertising. It's cheeky. But no, I think everybody, I can't tell practice managers how to do something, you know, and you probably have been in the business a hell of a lot longer than I have. But I think it's just belief in yourself and belief in your team, and that's all I'd say.
Thank you. Sarah Brindley. Sarah talked about communication. How often do we get that when we email each other when we should just open the door and walk down the hall? I saw a great cartoon with a guy's on his computer. I know he's on the phone, and he said, "Of course I love you, darling. Didn't I email you that last week?" It's just so typical. Okay, we're going to bring this to roost now. I can feel the need for a cup of coffee, but we've got a little bit more time before they get ready with the coffee. So let's just push this on, folks. I want to share with you these kind of people that they're horrible people to be around. They're the 6 worst kinds of people, and you're going to find them in your practice. But they will build up your mental strength if you can get around them. First are the doubters. And these are the skeptics. These are the ones that think that your ideas have no merit. These people will make you strong or they will break you. So you've got to get these people out or pull them up. Next ones are the leeches. And these are the people that lack creativity, they lack originality, they just hang around you a lot and suck up all of your ideas and try and claim it for themselves. Recognise these? These are the people who are always finding a way to disrupt your confidence. They always try and find a way to undermine what you're doing. You're telling them that your vision is wrong and you're going about it the wrong way. These are the envious people. These are the people that wish they were you. And they resent you because they're not you. They wish they had your courage. But they waste energy poking fun at your efforts and your impact. Because in a way, they're jealous. You recognise a few of these? Oh, poor me. These are people that haven't had a good break in life. They feel life owes them a living. It's okay for you. It's tough for me. It's okay for you because you're a woman. Or it's okay for you because you're a man. Or it's okay for you because you're young or you're old or you've got an education or because you live there or you haven't got kids or you have got kids. It's okay for you. These are the victims that will drain every ounce of optimism out of you, or they will make you mentally strong. And these are just the people that create a lot of noise. There's mass confusion going on. They're just shouting because they want to be heard. They're loud, obnoxious, they crave attention for all the wrong reasons. These people will make you mentally strong. Because if these people weren't around, things would be easy. And if your life was a breeze, it wouldn't be good, would it? You wouldn't have anything to bitch, moan or whine about. You wouldn't have any reason to get up in the morning. Things would be way too easy. It wouldn't be that challenge that keeps you going. So in a way, I want to be thankful for this. And finally, I want to finish with just three, not 101, but 3 really simple ways to build your mental toughness. So if you're taking any notes, let's just go for these. Number 1 is to get a friend. Both Colin and Sarah have talked about the importance of being around good people. Now, there's a piece of research on this that says you're more likely to be committed to your job, you're more likely to feel worthwhile, you're more likely to want to come into work if you've got a friend at work. Now, friends are many different shapes and sizes. I'm going to share with you 12 kinds of friends that you might look for in an office or work environment. I'm going to throw them all really quickly. A rival is somebody that is a threat to you. Now, why are those good people? Because they keep you sharp, they keep you strong, they keep you on top of your game. If it were not for them, you get complacent and you get flabby. So that's a good thing in a way. Partners. These are people that you do projects with. You might not have much to do with them, but once you get together, you just join them on a particular project. Might be something outside work. But getting people that join with you on something and you have a shared vision, that's great. We need partners. We need energizers. Energizers, people that make us laugh. They're useless for everything else, but you get around them within 30 seconds, you're laughing. So the jokers in the office, these are great people to get around. You won't have one friend that fulfills all of these roles. It may mean just taking bits out of each person and valuing them for what they bring to the party. Connectors. These are people that can introduce you to the right people. They are door openers for you. Encouragers. These are people that believe in you more than you believe in yourself. They will advocate you. They will champion you. They will shout your name from the rooftops. We need champions. We need encouragers. Role models, these are people that you look into. These are people that you aspire to be and aspire to be around, and they bring you up. They drive you on. They inspire you. Mentors, these are people that speak into your life from positions of experience and expertise and authority and wisdom and life experience. Getting around these people just to say, well, why are you doing that? People that hold you accountable, if you like. These are really good. Drivers, these are really bosses. But a good boss is a great person to have in your life because they will drive you to be a better you. Football managers drive their players to be better players on the pitch every day, and having that person in your life that will crack that whip every now and again, hold you to account, having a great boss, not necessarily as a best friend, but as a friend in your life is valuable. Advocates are a little bit like encouragers. Encouragers are people that will pick you up when you're down. They believe in you, but advocates, they're a little bit more, they will argue your case, they will promote you, they will recommend you. I know it's really warm, isn't it? Just hang with me for a couple more minutes. The air conditioning's just kicked off, hasn't it? So maybe they're telling us to get out for coffee. Hang with me. Enablers. These are people that will do the non-sexy jobs so that you can go out there and do the amazing stuff. So it tends to be the women, if I'm honest, that are the partners in this. Actually, no. Let's talk about companions first. Companions are people that get you just for who you are. They don't care that you're some practice manager. They don't care that you're some bigwig. They will just sit at your feet and they just love being around you for who you are. They could be at work. They could be outside work. But people like that just get you for being you. Really valuable people. The challenges are the people that will ask you awkward questions. Not necessarily to neg you out and undermine you, but they make you think about things. And then the enablers are the people that will fix the shelves and do the bulbs and do the printer and everything else so that you can do the stuff that you really need to do. So get a friend. Recognize people for what they can bring into your life. Second one is to get a hobby. Now a hobby might be something just anything outside work. These days, if you're in recruitment, you will get asked, what do you do outside the job? Because if you haven't got any hobbies and you say, oh, it's all about the job, they won't hire you. Because when the job goes wrong, everything goes wrong in your life. So having something outside work that you can invest in or get good with or that takes you away from work, it could be family, but it could be a hobby or a sport or a pastime or something. That will help you deal with the crap that's going on at work. And finally, get better yourself. Do what you're doing today. Work on your skills. Work on yourself. Make some notes. Be better today than you were yesterday. That will help you be more mentally strong to cope with everything. Okay, let's finish. Some final things. We're going to talk when we come back after the break about building trusted relationships. I'm going to share with you some of the differences between men and women. But just to give you a flavour now of what we're coming into, these are some of the things that men have said that they ought not to have said. I'll wait till you've read it, then I know that you've got it. It's no coincidence they're all footballers. He wasn't in my maths lesson, obviously. I'm not proud of being a man at the moment. Apologies to any Scottish people. Can you see that one at the back? Shall I read it out? You couldn't make it up, could you, really? Nothing like a good blame culture, is there? And just to show it's not just the men. Okay, final message to you. Don't pray for less change. Instead, pray for more skills. Change is always going to be around. Don't pray for less problems. Pray for more clarity to solve those problems. Don't pray for more opportunities. Just pray for more insight. And lastly, don't pray for more time. Just pray for more discipline. You'll use that time a lot better. Our time is done, folks. We're going to take a break. And just before we take a break, get your finger ready. Point to the person on your table you think drinks the most cups of tea or coffee every day. Go. Last one. Point to the person on your table that's going to be the last one to arrive back after the coffee break. 1, 2, 3, go. You know each other too well, do you? Me? How dare you? Folks, let's take 25 minutes, go and get some fresh air.